They are the insiders, Chris Johnston, Pierre LeBrun, and Darren Dreger. U.S. Thanksgiving is often a catalyst for change in the NHL. Jim Montgomery out in Boston, then he's hired in St. Louis when Drew Bannister gets fired. Could the Wings be next to make a change behind the bench, Dregs?
Yeah, they sure could. We know it's a tough business, Gino, as you've just exemplified there. But Detroit needs to, wants to, and is counting on staying in the playoff mix. They're only 3 points out of a wild card spot. They've got a crucial 3-game homestand happening this week. What happens if they go 1 for 3 or 0 for 3? Now, the upside is they could go 3 for 3 or win 2 of 3. And Derek Lalonde, who's in the final year of his contract with the Detroit Red Wings, stays on the Red Wings bench. We know that Steve Yzerman is loyal to his coaches, but again, they have to remain competitive. So if they have a good homestand, everything should be fine. If they don't, that might force Yzerman to make a decision. And the sense is that they would go with an interim internal candidate and then hope that a top coach eventually becomes available.
Final rosters for the Four Nations face-off are due in less than a week now, and we're starting to get an idea of who 2 of the 3 goalies could be for Team Canada, Pierre?
Yeah, it sounds like there are 2 goalies where there's consensus among the Team Canada management and coaching staff, and that's Jordan Binnington and Aiden Hill, who are Stanley Cup champions. Their body of work very much important here, perhaps more so than their up-and-down season so far. So they would be penciled in right now as 2 of the 3. I say penciled in. Still a week to go before they announce these rosters. But as for the 3rd spot among the goalies, still a lot of debate internally of who that might be. Thompson, Skinner, Montembeault, Talbot. And the thing is, this isn't a number 3 job. When they announce these 3 goalies next week, it will be made clear to everyone. This is a wide open competition right to February. Any of the 3 goalies could be the number 1 starter.
And there's an interesting wrinkle in the search for that 3rd goalie. Joey Daccord of the Kraken has one of the best save percentages in the league. But the question is, would he be eligible, Pierre, to play for Canada?
Yeah, so Hockey Canada is still doing its due diligence on that matter. And as of Tuesday here, did not have a 100% answer on that. Joey Daccord, born and raised in Boston. His dad from Montreal, his mom from Switzerland. In fact, Switzerland asked Daccord to play for them at the World Championships last year, but he didn't go. He hasn't played for anyone internationally, so it's a clean slate. Here's one of the stumbling blocks, I'm told from a league source. He doesn't have a Canadian passport. He is a dual citizen, Canada and US, but doesn't have a passport. That could be a stumbling block. Hockey Canada just trying to make sure it knows all its options. Doesn't mean necessarily it would name him the 3rd guy, just wants to know what their options are.
Hey guys, since the Blue Jackets took David Jiricek 6th overall in the 2022 draft, they haven't been able to agree on whether or not that right-handed D-man is ready to play in the NHL. Have the Jackets now decided it's time to move on from him, CJ?
Well, more or less, I think that is the case. I mean, there's certainly a lot of smoke around the situation, a lot of noise, and that's because of the fact the Blue Jackets have engaged in trade discussions with other teams on this big right shot D, as you mentioned, still just about to turn 21 years old, very much with his career ahead of him. And I think a significant thing has happened here is initially the Blue Jackets were looking to get another prospect back, someone equivalent, a kind for kind type of trade for Jiricek. You know, they're getting to the point where they may consider now, you know, a package of picks, maybe even, you know, a depth defenseman as part of what it would take to get him. And I think that will bring more teams into the mix here. Certainly time is of the essence. He's down in the AHL and doesn't want to be there forevermore.
The quarter mark of the season is a good time for teams to figure out if they're going to be buyers or sellers, and the Flyers are still in the selling mode, Dreg?
Yeah, they know what they are, and they know what they're doing. The Philadelphia Flyers are still in the building process of building a long-term foundation. Danny Briere is one of the more active GMs, and he's taken a lot of calls. There's a ton of interest, as we know, in veteran defenseman Rasmus Ristolainen. I mean, he's a top 4D, and he's got a couple of years after this year on term, so that also checks a box in his favor. Here's another interesting name that's been out there on and off over the last couple of years, but back on, and not that Philadelphia wants to get rid of him, but Scott Laughton is a centerman that is drawing a crowd. Lots of interest in him, but again, not eager to move him. So if they have to list him closer to the deadline, it's going to take a premium draft pick or likely a top young prospect or NHL player.
Listen, whether you're a fan of the Penguins or not, people are really interested in what they do because of the Sidney Crosby factor. What are you hearing about Kyle Dubas's plans, CJ?
Well, he's another active general manager. Already made the trade this week for Philip Tomasino. Traded away a couple weeks ago a pending UFA and Lars Eller to Washington. And I think Dubas would still like to make more new moves in the near term if possible. According to those in the marketplace, the Penguins have been in on a lot, prioritizing young players that can come in and help them short term, but may also be part of a longer term solution. But certainly they're not just sitting back and waiting for the trade deadline. They're trying to get out ahead of it now.
It's really hard to watch what's happening to Crosby right now. He just hit career goal number 600 last game, but he did it in a 6-1 loss. Rough to watch. They are the Insiders. Chris Johnston, Pierre LeBrun, and Darren Dreger.